In Venezuela, by the way, I don't know if you guys saw Juan Guaido. He's a first-term guy in the whatever their equivalent of the assembly. Did you see him though? He gave a speech in front of a street filled with people, and then he swore himself in. And I don't know about you, he swore himself in as president. And I don't know about you, but I shed a tear at watching democracy in action like that. Wow, to see a guy who 80% of the country had no idea who the fuck he was declare he was the leader of the country. I'm like, God damn it, I love voting.
Has anybody here seen Red Dawn? I didn't think so.
By the way, so October 27, Chavistas, that's the Maduro's who he's part of.
I believe it's pronounced Chavistas.
Okay. The Chavistas.
How did you get in the country?
She's a native.
Yeah, thank you.
She's a native. You can't get rid of her. Can't get rid of her. She's just as American as you. Can you fucking believe it? Look how brown she is. Look how brown she is, Tom Brokaw. So in 2017, Chavistas sweep gubernatorial elections, defeating opposition in 18 Venezuela's 23 states. So they're pretty popular. In December of 2017, Chavistas sweep mayoral elections, winning 21 out of the 23 states. So that's the party Maduro's a part of those people, right? And in January 2018, Trump administration says it will not recognize results of a presidential election. So you know what happened in Venezuela, right? So the neocons, they got their educated in America, Juan Guaido, all ready to take over in a coup, right? And so that's what's going. And when they had an election, they didn't participate. And they asked the UN not to send observers because they didn't want them to say it was a good election. And the people who actually don't want people to vote in Venezuela is the opposition party. They were attacking polling places. They were making people afraid to vote. That's the opposition party. That wasn't the Maduro government.
Right. They told the opposition people that were running not to run to boycott the election. And one of them, or maybe more than one, still ran and lost handily to Maduro. And they have a far more legitimate, you don't have to love Maduro to realize they have a far more legitimate election system than we do.
Can you imagine if in Venezuela Maduro got 3 million less votes and he became president? I mean, we're going to go say their elections are bullshit? That's what we're going, that fucking guy who got the most votes and he's president? That's not how it's supposed to work. Have you been to the United States? Because it's...
They got super delegates in Venezuela?
So, yeah. You know what a dictator is? It's a noun meaning someone who doesn't let American CEOs dictate how their country is run. You know that, right? That's what a dictator is. So, so there's a thing called the Organization of American States, and they're very neoconish, and even they wouldn't go along with it, right? So they wouldn't go along with Pompeo and his bullshit. Hey, the United States is ready to provide urgent humanitarian aid to the people of Venezuela after holding it back to blackmail the population of Venezuela, also not to mention the economic sanctions by the U.S. imposed on Venezuela. There they go. So, okay, so you saw the videos. You know that Saudi Arabia has been overproducing oil to drive down the price of oil to bankrupt Venezuela, which has more oil than Saudi Arabia. So you know that. And the United States has been putting sanctions on them. And sanctions aren't engineered, they're not trying to engineer democracy in Venezuela. What sanctions are there for is to drive a country to its knees so that they can overthrow its government. And then American corporations can come and reap the benefits. And how do I know this is a fact? Because John Bolton fucking said so on Fox Business. You think I'm kidding? Here's John Bolton, and here he is saying so. Ready?
This very seriously. We don't want any American businesses or investors caught by surprise. They can see what President Trump did yesterday. We're following through on
it. So if you think of a company like Citgo, which is owned by PDVSA, which is the state-run oil company there in Venezuela, we have a lot of those Citgo assets right here in the U.S. Is that something, for example, sir, that you're looking at?
Yeah, well, we're in conversation with major American companies now that are either in Venezuela or, in the case of Citgo, here in the United States. I think we're trying to get to the same end result here. Venezuela is one of the three countries I call the Troika of tyranny.
The Troika of tyranny, the axis of evil. Do you remember the axis of evil? That's what they would say. So we went into Iraq.
They can't even get a new routine. Get a fucking new routine. Somebody.
The Troika. The Troika. They changed the word at least. They did that. There it is. The Troika. So it's the axis of evil. It's the Troika. Here we go.
Make a big difference to the United States economically if we could have American oil companies really invest in and produce the oil
He's just admitting it right now. Yeah. Do you hear this? It would make a big difference if we could have American companies get their fucking grubby fingers on that oil. It would make a big difference to me. I have stock in Exxon. It would make a big difference to a lot of these motherfuckers who want to put me on their board.
Abilities in Venezuela. It'd be good for the people of Venezuela. It'd be good for the people of the United States. We both have a lot at stake here, making this come out the right way.
He just admitted it.
I love the sentence. It'd be really good for the people of Venezuela to give us their oil. It really would. It'd be very good for them.
It'd be fantastic for them. You know how they've been waiting for it. And so now here's Bill Maher. He weighs in on Venezuela.
Oh, this motherfucker.
Wow. Crowd of progressives not happy to see Bill Maher. It's nice to see by the way, it's nice to see he's dressing like a Mormon these days, which is nice. Bill Maher, he had his special guest for the interview was Ann Coulter because that's right, because these days it's hard to find somebody to the right of Bill Maher. That's why he's.
And by the way, they're like best friends.
Yeah, I know it. That's what. So listen to what he says about Venezuela. Listen to this.
Today, Venezuela. This is the front page of the New York Times. Venezuela. Okay. Mm-hmm. They have a guy, an opposition leader who finally stood up, and we are backing him. And Russia warned us to back off because they're backing the dictator. This was the Monroe Doctrine. This is our backyard. And Russia is now telling us to back off of what goes on in Venezuela because they know they can, because they're so emboldened. That doesn't bother you? You're the patriot?
Oh, Bill Maher having his Dennis Miller moment. You know, I don't know about you, Lee, but someday I want to use the power of comedy to stand up to an illegal coup, just like all comedians want to. Oh, yes.
I love how backwards that is, though. He's like, how dare you support Trump, who, by the way, is creating this coup attempt by supporting Juan Guaido. And he's like, how dare you support Trump because Russia's against the coup and Russia controls Trump, even though Trump created the coup. What the fuck are you talking about?
So this exposes guys like, no, I honestly don't think that guys like Bill Maher in their heart think they're doing anything wrong. Again, because when I see Bill Maher, I see my future self. So he's been a millionaire for 30 years. 30 years he's been a millionaire. So he doesn't really know what's going on. And his circle of influence is all people who think like this. And his best friend is frickin' Hank. I mean, he doesn't, honest to God. So it just drives me fucking nuts.
I never thought we'd find someone who could make Ann Coulter look left-wing. That was amazing.
It's unreal. It's unreal. I can't even. It's hard to put into words to watch how crazy this is.
So here's the thing. This is what reveals Bill Maher's position to be ridiculous. And guys like Bill Maher, again, are usually good guys, except their lizard brain gets excited by Donald Trump. It happened to Keith Olbermann. It happened to him. It happens to other people who are close to me. Their lizard brain gets excited by Donald Trump, and so then they're critical, as Ron Placone says, they let Trump steal their critical thinking skills, and that's exactly what just happened there. So he's to the right of Ann Coulter as he's sitting there, and he's screaming for a U.S.-led coup. But all the other times he's screaming that Donald Trump is a Putin puppet. Except now Putin is against the coup and Trump is pushing the coup. So he doesn't even address that, right? So I already said that. So if you're for the coup, you're with Donald Trump, who's a Putin puppet, so you're supporting a Putin puppet. If you're against the coup, so is Russia and Putin, so you're a Putin puppet. And here's Mr. Mormon Ty sitting there, just fucking screaming for United States imperialism without a fucking second thought to it. This is like screaming for the Iraq War. This is what, by the way, don't forget Bill Maher to this day thinks the Vietnam War was a good fucking idea, which is why he has a show on HBO and I'm on fucking YouTube.
And by the way, he's used this bullshit argument before. It's in our backyard. He said that when he was arguing with Jeremy Scahill over drone bombing, because Jeremy was detailing all of the innocent civilians that die from our drone bombs. And Bill Maher goes, if a dirty bomb comes in to the country, it's coming through LA Port, where I live, so fuck them. Like, just blow up innocent civilians because a hypothetical dirty bomb could show up in an LA port. The fuck is the matter with you?
So,
Yeah, the crowd's cheering too. The other thing too,
his crowd. You mean his crowd
is
was cheering for him? Yes.
And the arrogance of the American backyard is
Yes.
just like, well, no, that's ours. It's our backyard.
The Monroe Doctrine?
The fuck are you talking about?
The Monroe Doctrine came to be when we still had slavery. What the fuck are you talking about? That's probably not true. Let me. Barry Wise, could you look that up? So Bill Maher just revealed that he dislikes Russia more than he dislikes Trump because one of them is looking out for his tax bracket. That is what's fucking going on. Okay. Thank you. Oh, I was really hoping you guys would carry me off the stage after I said that. I felt good about it. He's getting so conservative, Vince Vaughn is upset he's stealing his act.
Hey, this is the part where I tell you where our live shows are, but there aren't any. And then I would tell you to go join our premium, but nobody has a fucking job. So why don't you just enjoy the video?